Hi, I'm LJ Tyson. I am a artist from Prince Albert, Saskatchewan. I've been doing music for a super long time, but I haven't been teaching music for a super long time because it's like this awkward thing of like, when do you become a teacher? I don't know, but I kind of jumped into it through my friend Eliza and the Camp Sask music program, which is doing incredible things in northern Saskatchewan currently, and I'm so happy to be a part of it. But like I said, how to switch from like a student to a teacher, I think that we are like, this is going to sound so cheesy, but I think we're always students. So it's no like switch that when you can become a teacher, I think you can share whatever you know at whatever time. And that's what I have to keep reminding myself as I work with these groups of students in northern Saskatchewan. And another thing that really didn't cross my mind until I was involved in the camp music program teaching is that every single student is completely different and you never know who's going to walk into your classroom, who's going to cross your path. And some of them want to learn guitar, some of them just want to be singers, some of them don't really know what they want to do, and that's all completely fine. So what I had to do was develop a way that I could try and make them all happy. And I know that sounds like an impossible task, but what they really enjoy doing was singing together. So I just pulled out my guitar or sat down at the piano and played like a super basic song. Sometimes, even with the younger kids, we'd sing ABCs. And I just wanted to hear them singing. I just wanted them to feel comfortable in the environment. And that's how I always like to start. I just want them to know that they're in a safe space, that there's nothing they can do that will kind of be wrong, stereotypically wrong. I just wanted them to have fun and start interacting with music. So, yeah, something as simple as ABCs. Just get them singing, hear their voices, make sure that all of them are singing, and make sure that they know that if they are not on pitch or if they think they're a horrible singer, just make them feel comfortable. Make it feel like it's like a campfire. That's the way I like to view it. It's just, you're sitting around with some friends, you're singing some songs, and that's a great way to get the kids started, in my opinion, with music. As we kept jamming more and more and more and started getting further into songs, I realized that this one specific group actually had a super interest. Does that make sense? Super interest? I think so. They loved singing. So we started diving deeper into that, and we started playing Elvis Presley's Can't Help Falling in Love. And for some reason, that song has like maintained its status. I don't know. Kids love it nowadays. I think there's a million covers of it. However, I knew that these kids could be in a choir. However, I think any group can pull off a choir. So what I started doing was, while the other ones were starting to learn the song "Can't Help Falling in Love," I would start pulling them aside one by one, bringing them over to the piano, and just finding what range they were comfortable in, what they were comfortable with singing, and maybe if they wanted to be more soloists or more part of like an ensemble. And I sorted them out that way. I was like, hey, this person is super interested in taking a bunch of lead parts and they're great vocalists just naturally. So I'm going to task them with a lot more than I would a kid who's maybe still figuring out what they want to do with music. And I started sorting them out that way. And that takes about a full class, like a full hour of just getting to know the kids and working with them. And once again, just making them feel comfortable. I think singing is one of the most personal things you can share with someone because it takes a lot to share your voice. I mean, it's one thing to sit down with someone with a guitar one-on-one and you're teaching them things like that. It's a lot to ask of a young child pretty much to share their voice with you. And throughout that process, I always remind them that their voice is so important no matter what they think of it, because it can translate into their day-to-day life, right? If they're sharing their voice with you, they can also be sharing their opinions with you and stuff like that. So I just constantly remind them their voice is important no matter how they think they sound. So anyways, as I'm sorting out which parts they should take, I'm also challenging the ones that are a little bit farther along with singing. I challenge them to harmonize. And I'll start off by doing a harmony just to show them what I mean. So while they're singing the lead part, I will take a harmony and just sing along with them, just starting to plant those seeds in their head. And then, once they kind of grasp the idea of what a harmony is, I will put them back into the group and I'll start singing a harmony while the group is singing the part that they know, which is usually the main melody. Um, we do that for a class and I get them more comfortable with the song. And then, like I said, the ones that are stronger, I keep pulling them aside and I let them start hearing harmonies. It's just consistently, like how I learned was sitting in my parents' car and they like would annoyingly always never sing the main part of a song. They would always sing the harmony and I don't know why they did that, but it just drove it into my head and that's how I learned. So I'm trying to recreate that for my students by just constantly showing them that there's so much more that can go into a song. And even though a recording might not have a harmony in it, just showing them that there's different parts of that song that can be in there. The challenging part comes when you actually want them to start performing and start executing the harmonies and things like that. So how I start, and this is like super beginning, and I don't know if it's right, but it really worked for me. I promise you it worked for me, is getting them to sing one note. So splitting them into, I start with two. So I split the group right down the middle, and I'll have one group singing, ooh, and I get that just drilled into their head as much as I can, ooh, and then I make sure that they know that, and then the second group, I'll get them to go, ooh, which is, right, it works together, and it takes a lot of practice. They don't keep it. They start copying each other or just completely singing different notes. But once you hear them sing that ooh and ooh together for the first time, it's kind of magical because they hear it too. And just the smiles on all their faces make it so worth it. And that is the very start to what I think is a beginner choir. And then they kind of get that seed planted in their head that like, okay, well, we can actually make this sound good, no matter what level of singers they are. I mean, in grade school kids, a lot of them haven't had a lot of practice with music at that point, so this is such a great way to get everyone involved. So once the kids start realizing, or adults, whatever you're working with, once they start realizing that everyone can have a different part in a song vocally, I think that starts to pique their interest because these kids actually, the specific group that I'm talking about right now, they took this on as like their own group. It was their own choir, and that was what meant the world to me because now they were invested in it. And it took a couple classes in order to get them comfortable with even singing in front of each other. But once it started, it didn't stop. They wanted to learn the song. And this actually helped with a lot of other things too, because a lot of them either seen me playing piano or guitar, and they had started having interest in those instruments too. So it branches out even further than just choir, which is why I think choir is such a nice way to just get introduced. Even if you don't end up doing any of the harmonies or start working with them on their vocals one-on-one, just to get them singing is such a nice way to break the ice. And yeah, they all started knowing their parts. They all started saying, okay, well, I am singing the lower octave of the harmony, so it makes sense that I stand with this person. Like, they did that themselves. It just naturally started happening. Or, you know, I'm singing the oohs of this part, so I'm going to go stand with the rest of the people that are singing the oohs. And, like, I probably should have been the one sorting them into groups, but it just automatically clicked, right? And then the lead singers would stand in the middle together. It just worked out perfectly. And like I said, this is like super low pressure. Like, it's not like Royal Conservatory choir practice. Like, these are just some kids that want to get involved in music for the first time. So I try and keep it super low pressure. I want it to feel like a jam until they kind of let you know or let me know that they were ready to keep working on it. And so the farther along they got in the song, the more that they started memorizing the lyrics. I'd start pulling them more aside and say, okay, now we're going to start working on things like individual tone. When you're singing on your own, it's great to sing like that. It's totally fine to be the loudest singer in the room and try and sing to your best potential. But when you're singing in a group, in an ensemble, you have to the best of your ability at that point, try and match what the group is singing. So if you feel you're a little bit too quiet and you know that your part should be up a little bit more, sing up a little bit more. And this is where I had to start kind of telling them too, because it's hard to hear yourself, and any musician out there will know. It's hard to really self-critique unless you're recording yourself or you see yourself on camera for the first time, which is horrifying. And I hate that, but here I am. And yeah, no, just start saying, those singing the oohs on the brand new part, I would like you guys to sing a little bit louder. Melody singers, maybe you can come down a little bit so that we can start blending. And that's where it's important as a teacher, as an instructor, as a choir director, whatever you want to call it. That's where it's important that you start showing them that every single part matters and every single part needs to be heard. And that's when that's when it starts clicking in their head. That's like, oh yeah, I didn't get a lead line, but like my oohs sound really good here. And they'll start to recognize that on their own, because that's what happened with this specific group of kids that I'm talking about right now. And they became so invested in it. In the time frame that I had about 8 weeks to work with these kids. So I knew we weren't going to like move mountains or anything like that. But when it finally came time to perform the song for someone, and this was in like a little bit past COVID time, so you couldn't really perform for anyone. So we just got out a video camera and they recorded it. And the smiles on their faces of hearing themselves back for the first time and seeing them in that light, because they were just like, they felt like a little band. They felt like a group. It was absolutely just priceless for me. It was a great moment. But yeah, just the things that I would say at the very top of my list: make sure that they always feel like they're in a safe space, because, and I'll say this a million times, singing is very personal. It's a personal instrument, and when they start to share it, it branches out into other parts of their life, like I said before, and they learn to use their voices in so many different scenarios that don't involve music, or aren't in the music room. Another super important thing: challenge them all the time. They don't know how good they are until they've been challenged to that, or have been encouraged to that, I guess is the word I should use. And 3, make sure that they are always doing vocal warm-ups. And I know that seems like the most the most silly thing, but it does. It's a great way to start the class, even if you're just running scales with them or going like it's fun for them for some reason. I like doing it with them. It gets them all warmed up, and it's like a team building exercise, I find. And it's important that if they're working in an ensemble or a choir, that they feel like a team, because then they're working towards a common goal together. And yeah, just start with simple songs. Baby Shark, ABCs, Down by the Bay, things like that. Things that they can have fun with. And then, maybe a simple pop song like Can't Help Falling in Love. Maybe that's something that will work for your group. Or something in the top 40 that the kids are really enjoying at the moment. I had to go and alter a lot of lyrics and simplify a lot of songs for them in that way. But it ended up really being a great thing for them. And then when I was able to work with that group again, they wanted to do choir again, and they wanted to challenge them. They didn't want me to be the one playing the instruments for them. They wanted to be the ones playing the instruments for themselves. So it was a nice hybrid experience between just getting started and planting the love of music in their lives.